slowly started working at a large studio facility. I was actually lucky enough to work in a bunch of big studios in
That's
Israel,
awesome.
and I was a runner, and then an assistant, and then an engineer, and I just stick to it for a long time, and I kind of had the same feeling of being addicted to crack
Yeah, yeah.
with mixing for the
Hmm.
like when I started kind of when I figured out like, oh, so all these like clients that come into the studio, they record it here, but then they mix it somewhere else, and then
Hmm.
started getting into mixing and really found my niche there. So I was like really focused on mixing
Yeah.
for a long, long time.
Did you have
And
the instance of the first time you ever got stems from somebody that you didn't produce on, and you were like, "This is the weirdest like." That happened to me. Like the first time I ever got a remote mixing job, and then I
right.
had somebody send me stems, and I like didn't really know the person, didn't produce on it, and I'm just getting the stuff, and I'm like super nervous because I was like, either this is going to be very bad or this is going to be very good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was more of like a kind of fade in because
I gotcha.
my first mixing gigs were stuff that I was recording, and then
Hmm.
after the recording, I came up to the band and I was like, "Yo, do you want me to mix this for you? I'll do it like half price or even for free for the first few times,
Yeah,
just to get my experience
getting
going."
reps. Yeah.
Um, so that was fun, and then it slowly became it moved into like this situation where the facility where I used to work in, which I'm actually still in, which is called Pluto Studios, which is it's a really big studio facility in Israel. It's like 12 studios in one building.
Oh dang.
So it got to a point where I was just like in a mixing suite, and some of the stuff I would record and then mix, but most of the stuff I would just mix. And yeah, did that for a really long time, and it got to a point where I love mixing, but it was like kind of repetitive in a way because I was like doing a mix a day every day, and I mean, it was great, but it also felt like it's not something I want to keep doing for the rest of my life. And no
Mm,
disrespect to anybody
sure.
that does do that, constantly. I kind of miss parts of it,
Yeah.
but it was at a point where I felt like I wasn't really contributing enough.
Hmm.
So it was like one of those things where as technology got better and better, it just felt like the productions got better and better, and then the mixing got like a smaller portion of what was needed to be done, and it started
Hmm.
feeling more like kind of mastering in a way, or like stem
I can
mastering, where
understand that. Yeah.
it's like it's like we
This
want the rough mix to stay exactly the same. Uh,
just polished by
just make
10%.
it like yeah, just make it like 5% better.
Yeah.
And that wasn't like my shtick. My shtick was like, let's go
Let's
crazy on
overhaul this
yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah. Heavy handed. Dude, I totally understand. I totally understand because I do agree with you. Like, as technology has gotten more accessible and, like it's become cheaper, but also like as information has become more accessible as well, like you have these people that are producing, self producing, that are getting, I mean, they're getting stuff damn near done,
Yeah,
if not fully done on their
yeah.
own.
And then what happened was I got offered actually somewhat of a corporate job
Hmm.
to run the audio department at a company called Artlist, which
Yeah.
yeah,
Which I
they
saw shares the same studio as you guys, right?
yeah, true. Because of me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's awesome.
So when I started working at Artlist as head of audio, I brought them into this space to essentially kind of build a studio facility for their needs, and they're
Mhm.
amazing. I mean, I love the people at Artlist, and I think they're doing an
They
amazing
do
job.
they do incredible stuff. I think pretty much every one of my video, because I'm friends with a lot of video guys too.
Right.
I think every single one of my video friends uses Artlist for something.
They're really, really serious on like high quality audio
Yeah.
production, and they do a lot of it.
Mhm.
So I was really lucky to, um, be a part of the audio team. And then um, what I realized at Artlist is kind of what we were just talking about, is like we can kind of cherry pick music producers that already do like a really good job at
Mhm.
like the audio side of things, and then
Yeah.
they don't really need a mix. They might need like a stem master of sorts,
Yeah.
but like a lot of them don't even need a mix because it sounds so good. And
Yeah.
even more than that, like how sometimes you get stems and you're like, you listen to the rough and you want to change one thing, but then once you change it, the something
Changes everything
else kind
else,
of
yeah.
gets ruined, and then
Mhm.
it's one of those things that
Doesn't
like,
doesn't hit right. Maybe that weird frequency in the 808 that's just, like, ringing for some
yeah,
reason is just, like, the vibe for the song for some reason.
exactly. So I feel like I mastered that kind of mentality when I was working at Artlist, because there was such
Mhm.
a large quantity of songs coming in,
Yeah.
and I kind of became a mastering engineer in many ways, um, and got into mastering as well, and got
Yeah.
into like the little fine details of, just like you said, like how the song hits, and how do you kind of keep everything intact, and maybe like not do that big massive change and like wild delay
Mhm.
throw
Yeah.
that I used to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I really liked it for a long period of time, and I did that for like 4 years. And but the company really, really grew, and it became like a
Yeah.
massive company. And I just felt like, again, I had this itch that I wanted to maybe try something else. And I always had ideas for plugins. I just never really like jumped into the water and like fully
Yeah.
committed on it. Um, and then I just said, fuck it, let's uh, let's do this. I'm
Yeah, dude.
I'm too old to wait. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to kind of go with what I felt was right. And I really, really didn't know how people would react to it. I mean, when I released the first plugin, which was Gorilla Drive, I realized during the release that this is like the first I've been working around like artists and musicians for most of my life,
Mhm.
and I've never released a song or anything really. I've never released like an
Oh,
art that
personal
was
music.
my own.
Yeah.
And when I released the Gorilla Drive, I kind of felt the same way as probably how a musician feels when he releases a song, because it really came from my heart, and I really didn't know how people would react to it.
Mhm.
And the first like month was like like really, really hard. I don't know, like when you release something like out to the world,
Oh,
you
yeah.
you're so like, you're like,
Yeah, it's a totally different
it's
feeling.
yeah, exactly. It changes your perspective on things, and it
Yeah.
was it was it was shocking, but
It also makes you think, how do artists do this all the time?
so hard.
Yeah. Like,
It's
how do people just do this? Like, on top of, like, maybe even doing content and then just, like, fully just putting themselves out there all the time so deeply.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh, man, I'm a different level of respect.
absolutely, definitely. And yeah, that was a year ago when I released the first plugin, and actually got a lot of really positive support from the community. I know
Mhm.
this like the audio community is known for like talking shit and like being
Yeah,
rude
sometimes.
and being like really harsh on people and stuff. But I felt the opposite way completely when I came out with the plugins. I felt like the
Yeah.
world was kind of like hugging me and saying like, "Oh, you're making cool stuff.